All right, so in this video, we're going to talk about how to multiply a matrix by another matrix instead of just a scalar. So this you have to do a little bit differently because you're going to have to use what we call the dot product. It's kind of like the distributive property for matrices. So the way that that works is when you multiply, first of all, you have to have matrices that allow this to happen. So what do I mean by that? Well, I mean, if I have my first example right here, so let's say when I look at this, I see that this is a 2 by 3. And then I look at my other matrices and I see that this is a 3 by 2. Well, in order for this to work, my row and my column has to have a matching value because we have to have enough rows and enough columns to actually multiply correctly. So again, when you do this, you have to have at least one row and one column that match each other. So the way the dot product works is you're going to take your first row right here and you're going to multiply each corresponding value by the first column and then add them together, kind of like combine like terms. So if we do this, we have 1 times 7, that gives me 7. Okay, so 1 times 7, that gives me 7. All right, and then we have 2 times 9. 2 times 9 is going to give me 18. And then we're going to multiply the last number in the row to the last number in the column, which is going to be 2 times 3, or 3 times 11, which is 33. And you add all of that together and you get 58. Well, that's going to go in that first column because what's going to happen is this is going to make a 2 by 2. Why is it going to make a 2 by 2? Well, the way that I remember it is you take the two numbers, the numbers are not matching for the row and column and put them together. All right, so if you look at the same situation over here, they're now going to do the same thing. So you have to multiply every row by every column. So we did the first row, first column. Now we're going to do the first row, second column. All right, so we did the first row, first column. Now we're going to do second row, second column. All right, so we're going to do 2 times 8. So 2 times, or I keep saying 2. Sorry, guys. This is going to be 1 times 8. So 1 times 8 is going to give me 8. All right, then we're going to do 2 times the next row is going to be 20. So 2 times 10 is 20. And then 3 times 12, that's going to give me my 36. All right, and you add all those together, and that gives you the 64 that goes and completes the first row in that piece. So when you're doing the first row, you're filling out the row in the column that it applies to. All right, so we're going to do this over again, and I'm going to kind of color code here. So I'm going to finish this problem up with you. So now we're going to go in and we're going to attempt the second row. All right, so we're going to do the second row, but we're going to approach it. Now we're going to do the first column. All right, so we're still going to do the second row and the first column, but that's going to go right here. Second row, first column. So we're going to do that again. So we have 4 times 7. So we have 4 times 7, 4 times 7. That's going to give me 28. All right. Then we have 5 times 9. 5 times 9. Oops. So 5 times 9, that's going to give me 45. And then we're going to do the last number, 6 times 11. So 6 times 11, that's going to give me 66. So if I add all of that together, all right, so I have 28 plus 45 plus 66, I get 139. So 139 is going to go in this spot. And then I'm going to repeat that. So I'm still going to use the second row just like I did before, but now instead of using the first column, I'm now going to use the second column. Okay, so that's going to go right here. All right, so I'm going to do the process again. So I'm going to do 4 times 8. So 4 times 8 That's going to give me 32. Then we're going to do 5 times 10. That's going to give me 50. All right, and we have the last 6 times 12. So when we do 6 times 12, that's going to give me 72. And of course, we're going to add that all together. So 32 plus 50 plus 72, that gives me 154. And that goes in that last row, last column. All right, so again, it's kind of like doing the distributive property, but you got to make sure you multiply every row. So first row by every column, and then the second row by every column, or however many rows that you have. All right, so when I look at this, we're going to find the product of this, but first we got to verify that it actually works. So when I look at this, I have a 2 by 3, and then I have a 3 by 3. So I know this is going to work because I have one row and one column that match. Well, what type of matrices am I going to produce? Well, I'm going to produce a 2 by 3. So when I'm done, I'm going to have a 2 by 3 matrix right here. So we're going to have a 2 by 3. All right. So at this point, we're going to multiply and we're going to combine each row with each column. So I'm going to color code as I go to kind of help you see. So we have in green here, we're going to do first row, first column. So again, we're going to do 0 times 1. That's going to give me 0. Then we're going to do -3 times 0. That's going to give me 0. And then we're going to do 3 times 1, which is 3. So if we add that all together, that's going to go in this first row, first column, which is going to be 3. All right. And I'm still going to color code here, but I'm going to erase what's there. So you can always go back and look at which one was the color coded area. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this row by this column. Okay. And that's going to go right here. So again, we're going to do 0 times 0. That's going to give me 0. Then I'm going to have -3 times 1. That's going to give me -3. And then we have 3 times -1, which is also going to give me -3. So if we add those together, I get -6. All right, so we're almost done here. We got to finish up this last column. So in this last column, all right, we have first row, last column, that's going to go here. All right, so I have 0 times -1, that's going to give me 0. All right, then I'm going to do -3 times 0, that's going to give me another 0. And then I'm going to do 3 times -1, which is going to be -3. So this last number here is -3. Now, I'm going to do that process completely over again, but now we're going to do it with the second row. So I'm going to color code. I'm going to start with green again. But now we're going to do the second row, first column. So that's going there. All right, so we're going to do 3 times 1. That's going to give me 3. Then we have 3 and 0. That's going to give me 0. And then 4 and 1 is plus 4. So if I add those together, I get 7. All right, so now we're going to move to the next column. So we are on the second row, second column. All right, so we have 3 and 0. That's going to give me 0. Then we have 3 and 1. That's going to give me 3. And then 4 and -1 is going to give me -4. So if I add those together, I get -1. And again, that went in that same spot in the second row. All right, so kind of think about it like our box method. You're multiplying the rows and columns together to get that spot in the new matrix. All right, and the last one. So we're going to say second row, last column. All right, so we have 3 and negative 1. That's going to give me negative 3. All right, and then we have 3 and 0. So that's going to give me 0. And then we're going to multiply 4 and negative 1, which is negative 4. So if I add those two together, that's going to give me negative 7. And that would be my new matrix.